Hey guys, welcome back to Travel Check-ins with Saida
and Jermaine.
So we are currently here in Kenya. We moved here about 9 months ago, and today we are going to be sharing 5 reasons why we are not buying any property here in Kenya sight unseen.
Right. We, us.
We, us.
Yes.
So if you're thinking about buying property here in Kenya, we want to share 5 critical things that you want to think about that we've actually thought about. Mm-hmm. And we want to share this because when we moved here, I think we were just ready to buy property. We weren't going to buy sight unseen, but we were definitely ready to buy property when we first moved here, but we changed our mind, right?
Right, for right now.
Yes. And some of the reasons why we changed our mind is because of these 5 things that we found out. And the first one on our list is the title and land deed ownership confusion. And by that, land ownership is a little different in Kenya. What's the biggest difference between Kenya land ownership and our land ownership?
Well, for a plus, right, I don't think Kenya has all these property taxes and stuff that we have. But if you move here, I don't know what the whole... You can explain what the 99-year rule thing is, but you don't own it forever. Don't you have to
From what we understand, you have to renew the land after 99 years, which, I'm not
going to be here in 99 years.
We won't be here in 99 years.
Right. But
that's something to actually think about. Okay, what's going to happen to this property for my children and my children's children? Because we're grandparents.
Right.
So we're not just thinking about, I'm just trying to escape America and I want to get some land over there in the motherland. No, I'm thinking about what's going to happen to this property and with this property for my children living in the U.S., inheriting it, or for my grandchildren living in the U.S.
Now, to be fair, I know it's an answer to it, right?
Right.
But I don't know the answer. So until I know the answer, I cannot do it. And I don't know how my kids, none of them visited here yet, right? So I don't know if they would come over here and do what they have to do to sell the land, stay where, or whatever. So those things we have to kind of keep in mind.
Right, because when Jermaine and I are making any kind of investment, we are thinking in terms of legacy and generations, right? Because we are grandparents. And the Bible talks about that a godly man leaves a heritage to his children and his children's children. And so when we're making investments, we're thinking about how is this going to impact our children long term? We already know how, duplicate titles or land having multiple people's names on it can be an issue in the States. Imagine trying to maneuver that internationally and you know nothing about it.
Right, because we dealing with that actually in the States with some land that was left to me.
Yes.
So, but I kind of know how to maneuver around that. But
a little bit, right?
A little bit.
And we've had to do research on it, going down to courthouses and pulling documents and land plots and land deeds. Imagine my children who are in America who have never been to Kenya coming here. They won't even first know where to go.
Yeah, it'll just be harder for them. I am not saying impossible. It'll just be harder, and those things you have to
definitely think about. So number 2 on our list is going to be scams and also the reputation of the developers. So when we live back home in our state and in our country, we know the names of reputable developers, like Toll Brothers, which is one of my favorites.
Right.
Mungo, which is the biggest, I think, in South Carolina, maybe. No, it might not be, but it's one of the biggest.
It's big, yeah. It's a bunch of them.
So we know the names of the builders in our country.
And the reputation of them.
Exactly.
Right, so it's different. I'm going to be honest with you, right?
Yes.
And I don't know this for sure because I haven't bought anything, but the Chinese developers have the best reputation here. I do not know why. Well, what I tell them is they finished their projects and it's going to be close to what you
actually ordered.
Yeah, but I'm not sure of that because I haven't bought anything.
Right, and what we're saying is there's this big trend where a lot of property is being positioned and marketed to the diaspora, people who are coming from the West to African countries. People are saying, come and buy land, come and buy property. But the thing is, sometimes you can be shown a thing, because let me tell y'all something. When I look at these properties, when they show the brochure, when they show the, because we see the brochures in person, they look amazing.
Yeah.
Don't they look amazing?
They are, yes.
But sometimes when you go and you look at them, it's not actually the same.
You mean you talking about your property catfishing?
Yes, for like, even when I was telling you about the property up the street, like it shows you the street is so nice and it's all these trees, but really outside of this one particular property I'm talking about, the brochure shows you this nice street, trees, but what's really out there is a lot of panhandling.
I'm not really familiar. You ain't got to say it, but I'm not really familiar with what you're talking about. But I understand the catfishing.
So understand, you'll see a brochure with property and you'll see tree-lined streets, but you have to know what's outside of the property. You have to know what's inside of the property before you talk about actually buying property. And that's why we won't just buy a property.
And to be honest with you, especially apartment buildings, if you haven't been to this side of the world, it just looks different.
Yes.
Just to be honest with, like, what's around it, the setup with the gate, the guards, it just looks totally different than what we're accustomed to. So that's just something to keep in mind.
For example, like I love Spring Valley, and that's like a place I would live, and it's like an area that I wanted to live in. But when you drive just a little bit away from the area, like you'll see clothes scattered around on the bushes and on the ground and stuff like that. Like people are drying their clothes there. So these are things like you want to know, because in the U.S., like that's a big thing in the U.S. as far as like in community. That's why we have HOAs, right?
Well, and the U.S. everybody has a dryer. Like this is what I see here.
This is not hanging clothes, Jermaine.
No, but you're saying drying clothes, so it's the same thing.
No, them clothes up there on that corner right there where we make that turn to go to Caddy Ford.
Right.
Somebody drying those clothes?
Sometimes they are. You think they had a dryer, they'd be putting these things on the ground?
But whose clothes are those?
Man, I don't ask who clothes those are.
Nobody lives there on that corner though.
I've seen people put clothes down, so I've seen like I don't know them.
But Jermaine, you know they all over the ground there.
I seen them put it on the ground. Like you got to remember, people have different circumstances. So
okay, so yeah, so that's some of the things that you have to definitely think about. But yeah, so number 3 on the list is cultural and legal gaps in the buying process. And so the buying process is definitely different than it is in the States, right?
Right, that's the thing. Things are different. Like we say, regulations is when it's good, when you like it, but red tape is when it's bad. So they have both, whichever one you, however you feel about them. So when you come here, you're going to need a lawyer, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not one to be provided for you. No, you need to get your own.
And then, so you have to put in the time to research a local real estate attorney. I hear that they're not really expensive to have a local real estate attorney, but you definitely have to find someone that's reputable, meaning you're going to have to talk to other diaspora, other expats. Then you got to make sure these expats ain't trying to just come up on you, basically trying to get a sale. So you have to look at all these things, because I hear that within the community, like people are always trying to sell something.
It's a hustle.
Everything is a hustle.
I get it.
So, you want to take those things into consideration. Don't feel like you have to like really jump into anything. Like Kenya is still growing.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of land.
There's a lot of stuff.
It's growing further and further out. If you didn't get an opportunity to buy in Westlands or Parklands or Lavington or Killaleshwa, it's areas that are growing up all outside of just Nairobi, right? Yeah.
And the bottom line is, right, the same process you probably would use in the States, a little bit different. You probably would do it here. People just have a tendency to drop their guard once they come back to the motherland, but you don't need to. You need to keep that guard up, just to be honest with you.
Exactly.
And you went back to you said the photo thing about the catfishing thing, right? Sometimes it's not always a catfish. We get little comments, it was funny sometimes, about American build houses with wood and sticks, right? But there are advantages and disadvantages to those. You got to remember, most properties here are built with concrete, a lot of them. So when you have an issue with a pipe or something like that, it's much harder to fix. Like drywall.
If you needed to fix it.
Yeah, if you need to fix it.
Like if you are a person who does DIYs, like Jermaine and I, we do a lot of fixing and stuff on our own property. So we couldn't imagine. even know where to begin to fix a receptacle here, like a light switch, any of those things.
I don't know, and it's a lot quicker when you do them yourself too, right?
Yes.
So,
although people say like a lot of repairs and stuff are really cheap here, but like at the end of the day, right? You always gonna, until you are, I don't know how long you gotta be here, but then you gotta navigate Mzungu prices.
Yeah, it's
everybody trying to upcharge you to fix this. So something that's cheap to someone who's Kenyan may not necessarily be cheap to us because we get offered different prices sometimes.
Well, yeah, but I'm more going on. It's just easier for me to fix something in the States in my house. I can go through that wall, put it back up, and I know a lot of people say the houses in the States are built with sticks to a certain extent.
It's in wood, right?
Well, I mean, yes, but if the house is going to be 100, 200 years old, which a lot of houses are, it is what it is. I don't see these trees just falling over just because it's built out of wood.
Exactly. So number 4 on the list of reasons why we wouldn't buy property in Kenya sight unseen is that the property may not look like the photos. And that goes back to what I was talking about earlier. I've looked at brochures and they'll show you the street and all of that. Like all of the aesthetic of the property matters to me. And Kenya is not really set up to where they're showing these nicely paved sidewalks and streets and stuff like that. And that's not always the case on the outside of the building. And then also like stuff like the gyms and stuff. Sometimes it takes time for this stuff to look like the photos.
Yes.
Even upon completion.
Right. Yes.
Or supposed completion.
Right.
Because sometimes it'll take a developer 3 years to build a property, right?
3 years. Sometimes it takes longer.
Yes. So what I'm noticing when I look around at Nairobi, like the property is looking nice, but as these years are going by, the outside, the paint is starting to look faded and chipped away. It's like, when is this building going to be done?
Right. Some buildings, like it's a building right down the street, right? We got here in August. I saw people on top of that building, I think 2 times. So that's the things you kind of might run into. Right. You got to make sure they're going to finish the project and make sure the project is going to look like you think it's going to look.
Right. And the thing about buying sight unseen is that you don't know when the property is going to be finished. Like there are people living in buildings right now. So here in Kenya, when they are doing construction on a building, they put this green netting or mesh around the whole building. Do you know you can be living in the apartment that you bought, and you're out on your balcony, and it's green netting around your balcony, so you're not even able to enjoy the scenery and all that for who knows how long.
Right. Well,
that's
we
wild.
assume because people were saying you can buy this apartment right now, right?
88.
We see the green netting around it.
Like, because that's one of the buildings. I was like, okay, I like this building and stuff, but I'm like, when are they going to be finished this building? This building still got the green. It's supposed to be the icon of Kenya, right?
Now, to be honest with you, I don't know how long they've been building it, but I think it's been a while.
Jermaine, based on the YouTube videos, it's been like 5 to 8 years, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
When I go back and look at some of the YouTube videos, so it's like, okay, if I bought into this property 5 years ago or 8 years ago, whenever they started it, right?
Right.
When do I get to move in and reap the reward of what I invested in?
I think you gotta expect a 3 year, right?
Yeah.
Before you can kind of get in. At least I'm thinking that. Things are just different here, man. You just got to, I mean, things can be done. You just got to do your due diligence.
Yes.
And do your research.
And the lore is that if you buy it before the project is underway, like before they start actually building the building, you get in at a lower price. But at what price? Because when is it going to be finished?
Now, this is the thing. Some people are going to come up because they know about real estate, they know about the developers, you know, they know what to look for. But we're just talking basically to a layman. Somebody
who doesn't really know about the real estate market, doesn't have any connections in Kenya, and they're just going based off of somebody they either contacted online and going based on what that person is telling them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so timelines are important, and that's why Jermaine was talking about the reputation. Because if you go with a builder who has a reputation of getting their properties done in 2 years or 3 years, and they've done it consistently for a few times, I think that's a good maybe indicator to say, okay, you can kind of trust that maybe this builder will complete the project in 2 to 3 years. But it takes a lot of research. So number 5 on the list is when you're buying property outside of the U.S. sight unseen, you don't get an opportunity to really kind of like develop those relationships with the person and the people who are going to be part of the process of you buying the property. And that could be the developer themselves, because one thing I've noticed here in Kenya is they do something like we do in the States, which is open houses. They invite the people to come over and look at the property and stuff like that. Also, even like the realtor, being able to talk in person with a realtor, going to the real estate office. Because I know they're building a building down here on this road, and they have a real estate office. You know the building they're building up there?
At the corner.
Yes. I don't know if you noticed, the real estate office is right beside it.
I didn't know.
Yeah, so they have the real estate office there. It lets you also like see the community. Because I'm even noticing, we were thinking about buying a building across the street, and then
Oh yeah, we were looking at that.
remember there was a grocery store on the corner, like a little mboga, where you can buy like, what happened to that grocery store?
What do you mean? What happened to
The
it?
one that was on the corner.
Oh, that one. No, that's gone. They knocked that thing down.
So yeah, it's like that. You want to come and you want to see like what businesses are around the property that you're going to be buying. But yeah, coming and looking at the property in person allows you to kind of connect with the local community
You
and
mean go
see
through
what's
the
around.
process?
Yeah.
You mean? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know. It's like on Google Maps, you can look at things in the U.S. and kind of see what's around. I don't think that works as much here because it's developing so fast here.
Yeah, everything's changing. You come here 6 months later, it might look totally different.
And it could be 2 months because you know the building they building right behind us. Remember there was a little building right to the side of it like 2 or 3 months ago?
Yeah.
They done tore that building down.
Yeah, that building get torn down
Gone.
quick. Yeah.
They were building the building across the street, and then there was a little Mboga grocery store down there.
Yeah.
They done tore the grocery store down. Like you could go down there and get chips.
Yeah.
You could get like little vegetables and
Fries.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gone.
And I don't even know what they're gonna put there. So it lets you get to see the neighborhood a little bit. Like when we bought back home, we bought sight unseen in a sense, because remember it was just dirt out there when we bought our house.
No.
When I say sight unseen, the house wasn't there. Is what I mean.
The house wasn't there because it can't be there, right?
But the property
Yeah, we
was
talked
there.
to them. We know what the property looked like. I know
We surveyed the area.
because the only reason we bought there, we were looking at another property
That they
we
had
sold
built.
out.
Yeah.
So you can try here, and I was like, okay, it's the same houses. So
Right, so they had a reputation, they had a track record. Also, we made ourselves familiar with the actual community, so many in so many miles in a radius outside of where we were moving.
well, and I knew the community anyway.
Right.
So yeah.
So you want to know like the schools in the area, you want to know what stores are in the area. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff you
Yeah.
won't know if you're not here. But again,
Yeah,
if that's what you do already,
yeah,
or you got to hook up some kind of way,
Mm-hmm.
then do you. I'm just saying for us, like we got like property back in the U.S. a little bit, but that's not what we do.
yeah.
So that's not anything that I would feel comfortable doing.
And understand this too, because I think some people are buying property here to actually live in it. They want to move
Right.
here and live for the long term. But then you have some people who are buying property to invest. They're looking for a return on investment.
They probably know what they're doing though. When they're doing that, I assume they know the process because they've been doing it before.
Sometimes, because I've met a lot of Americans that have come over here and bought properties to use as Airbnbs, because that seems like to be the popular thing to do, right?
Yeah, that's a whole different another animal. They
However,
Airbnb. Yeah.
right? There's other business opportunities here. Like everything doesn't have to be buying a property to do an Airbnb, right?
No, you don't have to own the property to do it.
Yeah, because you could do Airbnb arbitrage.
Yeah.
But Jermaine and I, we were looking at a property as far as like for an investment. We were looking at a property for forever home. So we were looking at two different types of properties. One for an investment, one for a forever home.
Yeah.
But we're just kind of like keeping our options open and looking for the right thing for us.
Right. It's no harm in being safe and
Yes.
meticulous in what you're doing. So,
Absolutely.
And that is me.
And there's no rush, right?
No,
No
for what?
rush.
No.
It's no rush. So guys, that is the end of the 5 reasons why we wouldn't buy a property in Kenya sight unseen. We would have to actually come here, look at the property, look at the area, look at the community, get to know the people who are going to be involved in the sale of that property. But for us, we're still taking our time with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's not our business. That's not what we know in and out. So,
Especially not here in Kenya.
right.
So if you found value in this video, make sure you give this video a like, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and we will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.
right.